There we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. And this is our first, hopefully, annual Meet the Nominees event.
Should we
Obviously, with
just to break in for a second, should we turn captions on?
Turn on
For
captions.
folks who see this recording.
Okay. Does that, or is that something that everybody can do for themselves?
That's local per viewer, I think.
Oh, it doesn't record it?
Well, it should be able to generate it on the fly when people play back.
Okay.
Hopefully. Oh, Carlin.
Oh, wow. Cobalt said okay. That's cool.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So thank you, everyone. Obviously, we are doing things. Hello, Carla. We are doing things a little differently this year, largely because of COVID sort of forced us to think a little differently about how we're going to be doing our usual annual meeting stuff. But we will, we're doing virtual voting this year, online voting. And I think we've come up with a system that will work for that. And our annual meeting was delayed, but we are having it next Sunday, a week from today, at the same time. And we're going to do it in this virtual as Google Meet virtual annual meeting. But I wanted to give everyone time to vote, so we're doing the online voting, and it's going to be open for the next week. Everyone, in theory, should have already received an email that contains a link to the form with the ballot and their personal voting code. It sounds like some of us got it and some of us haven't. Yay, thank you, Carlin. So that will, you can go and fill out the ballot and then hit submit. And I may not have received it because I was part of a test run, so that may be why I got excluded from this one. So I will follow up with Sanssouci and just confirm they all got sent out. You can only submit that once, and if for some reason you accidentally hit submit and you're like, oh no, I can't do that, let Levi and me know, and we'll see if we can fix it. It's a little bit complicated because that voting code that you have is only tied to you at Sanssouci. We're trying to keep this so all the votes are secret. It's a secret ballot, and we have the ability to audit it in the event that we need to. But that code, which Levi received the list of all the codes, that code basically validates that it's a valid vote without him knowing who the vote came from. So it's a little overcomplicated, but I think it's the sort of best scenario for making sure that we ensure the secrecy and integrity of the vote. So in this event, we are doing so that everyone who's nominated for something has the opportunity to sort of talk about it and sort of why they want to be elected and what their sort of vision for the future is. So thank you all for coming to listen, and thank you. Almost everybody who's nominated actually is here on the call, so that's fantastic. This is great. So I think does anyone have any questions about the process in general, or should we just get into the talks? All right. So I'm just going to go through basically in the ballot order, and at least the ballot that I saw. So we'll start with board of directors, and we had a couple of people who were nominated that asked to be withdrawn from consideration at the last minute. So we have 3 people nominated for the board. That's Ben, who's here, Zeev, and Grant, who is also here. So Ben, would you like to start off?
Sure. So I'll keep it brief since you guys don't really have to choose whether or not I get it. So obviously, Crash has been a hugely important community to me these past 6 years as I've kind of embraced my maker side. And so COVID illustrated something really special about Crash, and I think it's that there's 2 sides to Crash. There's Crash, and then there's the space of it. And I think in this moment, we can really start focusing more on what the Crash community is. And so that's really where I want to put my focus as a board member. How do we do partnerships how do we build goodwill around the city and around the country with other organizations and with other efforts, and just kind of bring resources and things to us as we grow. And also just find a way to make that community of lurkers, those 1,500 people on our mailing list, into active members. Because really that's where our community is. That's what we've really shown through all of the COVID response stuff and just this time away from the space. That said, I do also think this is a good moment for us to reassess Crash as a physical space and how we can expand that and maybe find either more locations around the city or a larger location that we can really start building out and having a really big space to do a lot of activities in. So those are the types of things that I'd like to focus on as a board member.
Excellent, thank you. We can, if anyone has questions, I guess as each person finishes, we can raise. We don't have to wait till the end of everyone. So if there are any questions, just please pipe up.
Oh yeah, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for spaces, are you thinking mid-city still?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think one of the other things we can think about is how does Crash have a lot of spaces around the city? I mean, we can host virtual meetings across multiple spaces now. We've kind of gotten comfortable with that. So maybe it's about distributing Crash in a more distributed way across LA, or partnering with other organizations that can kind of be Crash affiliates, and figuring out ways that through that partnership, that space opens up to Crash members and the services of that space. So like an example of a place that keeps coming up in my mind, if we can build enough goodwill, is a place like the LA Clean Tech Incubator downtown. Like that's a city-run space. It's a really incredible place to make things. Figuring out a way to build a Crash presence there could be really powerful for the organization, and also just kind of establishes our deeper relationships with the city in general. So that's kind of the way I could see it happening. In general, though, it'd also be cool to just figure out how do we get like a giant warehouse space with a loading dock and really good power and just all the things that we wish we had as a real fabrication space too. The question is always just going to be, how do we do it in a way that we can afford to do it? So hopefully
a lot of retail space is going to be coming open soon.
And I think that's why this is a really good opportunity for us to explore it, because there are a lot of offices. I mean, I know of a lot of different companies that are kind of shutting down their offices right now. Space is going to get cheap in the next year. This is a moment that if we kind of attack that early, we might be able to secure a really good space quickly. So that would be kind of my approach. That said, I also think we should keep the Culver City space, like, indefinitely. I don't see a reason to ever get rid of that space. It's more about expanding, you know.
Well, cash flow for keeping two spaces open.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and also I think that's another thing to talk about is what are the ways that we can bring in resources to the organization beyond membership dues. And that's something, I mean, obviously through the COVID response, we raised a lot of money just through goodwill. So maybe there's other types of ways we can raise money for programmatic activities and things through grants, through, you know, family foundations, stuff like that, and bring resources into the space that could kind of expand the mission without having to be solely dependent on membership dues. So that'd be the other place that could be a good opportunity for us.
Well, great. Thank you very much. Steve is not here. So, Grant, would you like to speak?
Absolutely. Ben basically took everything that I was going to say, so everything that he said, just pretend I said it. Special emphasis on the importance, the personal importance. Crash has been hugely important to me in my life. And I'd like to be more involved in, you know, I've suddenly lost the ability to talk. I'd like to be more involved in it. Basically, I'm curious to see how I might be able to do so as a board member, because I'm not entirely sure at this point what a board member does. I'd like to see the momentum from the COVID response keep going, whether to continue with goodwill or to use it as a template for collaborative projects, just as a makerspace. Otherwise, yeah, basically everything that Ben said.
Speaking on just sort of what does the board do, or what does a board member do, is we have monthly meetings, and we any time that there's discussion of things that need to be decided in an official manner about how to manage the space and the business, the board makes that responsibility. They also then task the officers like the president, vice president, and secretary, and the CFO with maintaining all those aspects of the business. So just showing up, giving your ideas, and being engaged with the what's best for Crash Space is really all that's necessary.
Oh, that's perfect. And also, I have a lot of free time. I forgot to add that in.
That helps too these days. So, okay. I sort of stepped in. Does anybody have any questions for Grant? And it's okay if you don't. Cool. So there we go. I would like to. We'll do this again at the annual meeting next Sunday, but since Todd and Kevin are both here, they are outgoing board members, and I would like to give them a round of applause and thank them for being part of the board.
Yeah.
They've both been very, very involved and valuable members to the board. We will miss them, but I'm glad that we had a significant amount of interest in other people to sort of step up and help out. So that's fantastic.
Me too. Everyone who's on the ballot is like super cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, so that's it for the board. As I said, because Anne Graham and Michael Lewis both sort of requested to be withdrawn from consideration at the last minute. We really only have 3 people nominated for the board, so that's everyone should still vote because we have to hit quorum, but that's not the most competitive race. However, the next one on the ballot is for secretary. Levi has been doing yeoman's work as our secretary, doing a fantastic job. And I know you've been busy and you've got things on your plate, but you are nominated as an incumbent. Would you like to give a little talk?
Yeah. Oh God. Sorry. Yeah. So I've been secretary for, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years. So Crash has been really important to me. I've been part of it since almost the beginning. I've gotten a lot of, I've been involved in a ton of projects with the space, and it's been a great community. So as Theron mentioned, I am busy with other stuff, but I've pretty much always been. So I'm switching over from being a grad student to being a slightly less broke postdoc. So that's an improvement. So I'm going to be busy with that. And I'm okay if people don't want me to still be secretary, just because I think it might be helpful to have some churn in Crash. That's not to say that I would just toss the keys to somebody and then laugh. So whoever, if anybody else ever wants to take the job, I would always be in support. Just because I guess I've just done it long enough. I sort of have a muscle memory of how the stuff works. But I think it's always important to get other people just involved, just so it doesn't become oh, you're the only person who remembers how to do this. And I'm just saying this as somebody who's worked on projects involving coding, and anybody out there who's involved in projects involved with coding, if you have one person that always does this, you never remember why these variables are the way they are, and it becomes a nightmare if they ever leave. So what was that analogy? Oh, I guess I was just really upset about a project I once worked on. Anyway, so that's, as secretary, if you want to vote me in, I'll keep doing it. It's fine. But it's if you want to pass the torch, I'm cool with helping out whoever ever wants to take it over for a couple of years at least. So I don't know. I'm rambling. Oh, I like hosting talks and stuff too, but I can do that no matter what. Any questions? Nobody? All right. Nobody even knows what the secretary does.
Well, and actually, the secretary is almost the most important position on the as of the management, because many things, the secretary is the one from a sort of official, sort of regulatory, hosting the annual meeting and filing paperwork and storing records. The secretary is crash based as far as the government is concerned.
Yeah, as far as the government's concerned.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but no, that's crazy important because we have nonprofit status from both the IRS and the state.
Right.
We have to maintain that. That's all important stuff. So
yeah, you're the keeper of records and making sure that like just all these like miscellaneous. You just talk to like all the people and just making sure miscellaneous things are just actually recorded, because we are a real bona fide 501c3, and that is, for better or worse, at least I'm partly at fault for that happening. So, yeah. So anyone who ever wants to do that, like it's you like spreadsheets and forms. I'm not doing a good job of selling this. Anyway, I'm just saying that if anybody else ever wants to do it, I will help you with it. So,
we have one other person who is on the ballot, and that is Sean Shu.
Hi.
Would you like to give a little talk, Sean?
Sure. No, Levi and I actually had touched base about it, and I'm certainly willing to step in. And if Levi would like a break, I'm decently organized, and I've done operations for other organizations, not 501c3. I don't have a lot to say. I don't really know everything about the job, but if anybody has any questions.
I thought Sean seemed organized. That's why I thought he'd be a good pick.
Sean, do you have any outstanding warrants that would prevent you from signing government documents?
No.
Well, he's head and shoulders above the rest.
Ooh, better than me.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, the next thing on the ballot is membership chair. Membership chair, and from a day-to-day perspective, is probably the most important position in the entire organization, because we are a membership organization, and keeping track of and helping out with that is what that's all about. So our current membership chair is Cobalt, and renominated. So if you'd like to give a little talk about that, please feel free to do so.
Sure. Hi. So I've been the membership chair for the last little more than 1 year, since our last one of these, and I will go ahead and throw it out there that I don't think I've done a terribly good job as membership chair. I would probably give myself about a 4 out of 10 on membership chairs that there have been. That said, I've learned a lot from being membership chair and not doing a great job at it. And so I want to just mention what I will do differently if reelected as membership chair. Firstly, I will appoint and recognize a membership committee of 2 or 3 people who are able to sort of also take point, because as Theron mentions, this is a membership driven organization and this is kind of what we do. The biggest problem that I had was being able to respond in a timely way when people wanted to jump in. And Barb, who I see just joined us, has been an immense help during the latter half of the year in taking up some of that as well, and stepping in as a vice chair of membership to help that happen. So I want to, if I continue in this role, to expand that a little bit. The other thing that's underway right now that I will either be continuing or passing off to the other nominee is a move to a third-party membership management tool. And with this, I hope to gain a lot of additional visibility that we don't have today with the membership management tool that we have. One of the things I had hoped to do was make some improvements to sort of the visualizations of how our memberships are trending over time, what kind of memberships are doing, these basic sort of categorical breakdowns of what we're seeing in the membership, and the tool that we are beginning slowly to do a trial balloon of moving to is going to offer us a little bit more of that. So I don't want to go on it at too great of a length. I'm sure that either of us will do a fine job, and I'll leave it to y'all to decide who will lead the charge here.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Yeah, and as you said, we have. I mean, Barb just joined. Barb was formerly membership chair, and Kevin's pretty aware of all the membership sort of details. And I think we do have, and we've been sort of wanting to get a more robust membership committee, and I think that will be very important going forward. So, and the work that you've done in sort of evaluating the sort of CRM solutions, I think will be very helpful to us going forward. So, the other nominee for that position is Josh.
Hi there. Hi, I'm Joshua Truett. I've got a short little speech I guess I'll give. I wanted to thank Cobalt for everything that was brought up there. I think those are all very important points, and I agree with all of them. Well, I mean, not the terrible job. I don't agree with that, but I think increasing responsiveness to new member needs and existing members is very important. I think crash space is very important, and that's why I'm running. I think someone else submitted me as a joke or a subtle hint last time. I'm very serious about the position and its responsibilities. I'm ready to take them up. I think most of you know me. I've been part of Crash Space since the very beginning. I was at the initial planning meeting at Intelligentsia. I was at the 2 or 3 meetings. I was at two of the 3 meetings at the Overland Cafe when we were planning to set up Crash Space. And I've seen all of the great people who've joined Crash Space, who come in and out of Crash Space, people who've gotten a great deal out of Crash Space. And I think that going forward, more people are going to be joining Crash Space at an accelerating rate, because I think that the kind of things that Crash Space does is very important. I wanted to note that I do have a great deal of experience in tech. I've been working for startups in a systems administration role for 16 years in Los Angeles. I've got skills to do basically everything, because when you're in a startup, you're the IT person, you have to do everything. So I have experience with both hardware, software, back office server stuff, cloud systems, pretty much everything. I like tech. My special interests are wikis, checklists, and automated ticket systems. They are some of my favorite things. But I'm also really personally lazy, so I don't like doing unnecessary work. We'll work overtime, nights and weekends to get stuff done, so I don't have to do dumb bureaucratic busy work. I'm very anti-bureaucracy, and I don't like the idea of people having to fill things out just to fill them out. But I also think things need to get done in such a way that you can make sure it all gets done. You have a checklist that says it all got done, and other people who come behind you can also tell that it's a good system. It's a straightforward set of instructions and documentation. So that's very important to me. I also believe that Crash Space is part of a fairly good duocracy. So people who have an interest in doing stuff should be encouraged to do stuff. I agree that a strong membership committee is a good idea. I would be willing to serve on one. I would also be willing to run one if I were elected as membership chair. I think that's all the important stuff that I've got. I think Crash Space should do another decade in LA, and I think that we can do that easily. I'd like to be a part of that. So given my history with Crash Space, my experience with computers, systems administration, I think I'd be great for the position. Joshua Truett for membership chair. Thank you for your consideration. Do you have any questions?
Is that a Stratocaster?
Yeah, this is my ancient Fender Strat. It's one of the Mexican ones from like 19 96, I think it is, 1994. So it's like the cheapest conceivable. It's literally a vanilla Stratocaster. It's got the original pickups, which I need to replace because they're all rusted. Because they're like
Cool.
26 years old.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm gonna have like a little tiny question.
Yeah, sure.
Do either of you have any ideas or thoughts around how we can increase membership, especially for, given that we can't have the space open right now? Like, what are some ideas you might have on how to like expand membership, or maybe even offer like a lower price membership or something like that?
I mean, I'll jump in on this one. I think that we've sort of always traditionally sort of taken up this question because we are a physical space. How can we get people in the door, and how can we get people to engage with us? And I think that if one thing has been shown to me by the fact that, you know, by the COVID response and everything else that Crash Space has done during that time, I think that the way better approach to that is how do we engage in our community? I think that if we want people to come in the door, and if we want there to be any kind of a hook for someone to want to come and be part of this community, nobody's going to come to a little storefront, and nobody can come to a little storefront right now. Just on the notion that, hey, I heard somebody's doing some cool stuff in there, and if you come on, you know, the 2 hours of this weekend that somebody's actually hanging out, maybe you'll see something. I think that one of the biggest things we can do for ourselves is begin really pushing harder on outreach in terms of virtual events, physical events once we can do that, and community support events. We do so much pertaining to, you know, self-advocacy in tech. Why aren't we getting that in front of everybody? And why aren't we going to places where that will actually change somebody's life? You know, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest lowest hanging fruit that I see for us there.
Thanks, Cobalt. I agree with that. I think that outreach is important. I think since the very beginning, people have said, you know, we need to get out there. We need to put ourselves in front of people more, and we haven't done a great job overall. But whenever we show up, people are very excited. I think every time we have a presentation at some sort of conference, we have a huge surge of interest. And I think primarily as membership chair, I would want to be in a position to support that. I think that our biggest membership draw has been from articles written about us, which we've not solicited for the most part, or ever maybe. And those little business cards we have that we hand out at events. I think we can go one step beyond that. I'm not saying we go like Google ad push, but I think there's probably something more we can do. Personally, I don't have great plans for that. I think that's something that I would push the membership committee. I would want to have at least one person on the membership committee who, for every event we have, the committee would have at least one person who's going there, hopefully. Where we can have contact with someone who's going there to make sure that they have materials. They have like a demo sheet of what we do and what we're doing, and they have like a sizzle reel of, you know, here's what we're about. You know, a video that they can show on, you know, a laptop or a cell phone to someone who asks about us, or something we can have, you know, set up on an iPad, you know, at the booth, something like that. I don't have a great sense of how much direction the membership chairperson themselves is going to be involved in that, but I would definitely want people who have those sorts of ideas to be part of the membership committee, so that whenever something that comes in front of the board of directors, they need input, they need feedback, they need daily, you know, activities, like, you know, they need on the ground activities. We have at least some way of, you know, interfacing with someone who wants to get that done. And I think a support role there is probably what I would be leading, but I do agree that we, once again, I think we agree that there needs to be more proactive outreach. So that's what I've got to say on that. Thanks.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who's been in this job before, I know that one of the particular quirks of being membership chair is that you are often the first point of contact for people who are coming in who have questions about it, or who've just signed up and are like, I have no idea what's going on. what are your thoughts or plans for how to kind of welcome people in when they, when you're the first person who's reaching out to them and giving them info?
If I may first, my plan would be to look at what we've already got. I don't want to replicate any effort. I'd see what's been done before. I don't have a great view on that since I joined after, well, I joined before all these systems that were set up after I, of course, joined. I'd want to take a look at what's already being done. I'd want to see what sort of complaints and feedback we've already received of that. And then I probably want to have, I don't want to push everything on a membership committee, but I probably want to have at least one or two other people that I could present these to for brainstorming. My objectives there would be to make sure that it's friendly, that they receive the information that they need, and that we have a form that's being copy and pasted to answer the most common questions. Optimally, would have a frequently asked questions on the website that answers their question, but we can't just say, look at the web page. So we'd repeat that information and make sure that it's up to date. Optimally, I think we'd have a series of pages on the members only part of the wiki that would be form letters that would send out so that we would customize part of an email message, or if we wanted to answer it on a phone call, I would prefer email, but we would read that as kind of like a script to the person, or we would include it in an email along with a personalized message thanking for their interest. Primarily, I don't think that we should be winging it. I think that we should have answers to all the questions already written down, and for the most part, just form letters. So that's my answer.
It's my turn to agree. That's great. I know that we already have a welcome email, but that it's a little bit sparse. It's not got a lot of information, and I think that there's room there certainly to do a little bit more active direction to bring people into the wiki, bring people into more of the documentation that's there, so that we're not winging it. But also, an invitation to connect directly wouldn't go amiss. I think that our current welcome letter sort of feels like and is just a form letter that might as well be automated. And so it's not really a high touch point of engagement right now, and it really could be. I think there's lots of room for improvement there.
The Slack channel might help there. I know that that's relatively new as well, and some people aren't very comfortable with that sort of thing, but I think pushing the Slack channel on new users might help. But if we do that, then we're also going to have people committed to being responsive on Slack. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the questions and the answers. And one thing that we do is we actually have a admin company that helps us with a lot of stuff, and they help quite a bit with membership stuff. So when somebody cancels their PayPal subscription, Sanssouci sends out first sort of email to them saying, "Hey, we noticed your thing got canceled. Did you mean to quit?" sort of stuff. So we actually have some support there, and we do a weekly call with them, and it's helpful. Cobalt has been joining in on those, and it's helpful having the membership chair available to join in on that call. So that some of the things we talked about, we can flesh out with them certainly as we go forward into the next year. The next position on the ballot is CFO. Kurt is not here. Kurt has been serving as CFO now for a little while. He's done a fantastic job. We are very, very lucky to have him, and he is running unopposed. So he did not submit a statement to read to all of you, but and I want to campaign.
How very economical of him.
Yes, indeed. I don't want to campaign for him, but we're very lucky to have somebody with Kurt's depth of knowledge and diligence. So
yeah, I'll second that. Kurt really knows what he's talking about, financial stuff. So
yeah,
Kurt for CFO.
Next position on the ballot is vice president, and vice president's been a slightly amorphous position that we've sort of allowed the VP to sort of try and define. Alex did quite a bit of good stuff in sort of helping define that as kind of a membership outreach sort of position of our current membership. Currently, Lisa Luther is the VP. She is not here. However, we have Liz is the other nominee, and she is. So if you'd like to give a little talk.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm Liz, also Elizabeth on the ballot, if you're feeling a little bit more formal. I've been a Crash member for 2 years, and I've been on the board for 1 year. So I haven't been around here as long as most of you, but I've come to learn that Crash is so much more than the physical space, it's the community. And y'all have been so welcoming, and it's been so great to be a member of this organization. Everyone is so helpful, and a little bit about myself. I like to cosplay, which is how I learned about Crash Space. Is I work at OpenPath, and they told me, oh, there's this great place. It's great for working on cosplays. They have a lot of tools, but it's so much more than that. It's the community, it's the brainstorming, it's the just sharing ideas, and I am so happy to be here. Also about me, I help lead the local Write the Docs organization, Los Angeles chapter. I'm a technical writer, so that group is for like technical writers and also like programmers that care about documentation, because they do exist. Let's see. As vice president, I would like to see more virtual events. Since the whole apocalypse, we've seen some events continue, but I'd like to encourage others to keep holding virtual events. Barb and I help run the Wearables Wednesday, and we've been meeting pretty consistently every month, and that's been great, and we've had pretty good turnout to that. So I've seen that virtual events can work and be successful. Also, as a technical writer, I'd like to see more resources and documentation on how to run virtual events. Currently, our webpage on the website is more geared toward physical events, so I'd like to reformat that and make it a bit more easy to read and digestible, and just show how easy it is to host a virtual event. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
I've got a quick question. Go for it, Sigar.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering, if there are any outside groups you have been talking to about potentially hosting them for virtual events. So I know you've been doing the Wearable Wednesdays, but I don't know if there's any other groups that like would be interested in actually joining us for virtual events. You know that?
Yeah, like I said, so I help run the Write the Docs organization, and we've had one of our events at Crash Space in the before times. We have yet to do a virtual event yet, but I could definitely see that happening. I'm also in touch with the Linux users group in Pasadena, the San Gabriel Valley Linux users group. I'm also in touch with the SoCal Python group, not as much recently, but in the before times, yes. So yeah, I could definitely help facilitate some virtual events with Crashbase.
Okay.
And was there another question?
Yeah. I had a quick question about what you wanted to get other people to do. I think that the vice president position historically has been a loose one, but what are the tasks that you're going to get other people at Crash Space to get done for you as vice president?
Okay, I talked to Barb a little bit about this, but yeah, encouraging others to host events, as she put it. Yeah, just making it easier for people to do that. I'd also kind of relate to that, but I'd like to be involved in the membership committee, because I'd like to see Crash grow. I don't know exactly how that's going to work in a virtual environment, but I do think it's possible.
As a candidate for membership chair, I am affirming my commitment to having the vice president, no matter who that is, on my membership committee.
Sounds good.
I ask for my opponent to make a similar pledge.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? The next position on the ballot is president, and at the moment, it's our president is Justin, who is here, and he is running unopposed. Do you care to make a statement?
Yeah,
Justin?
I've actually been unopposed for a while now, which I can't decide whether that's a compliment or not. Maybe people just don't like to imagine being the one that everybody sends their first emails to and runs meetings and stuff like that, which it's, it's fun in its way. I enjoy being president. I like contributing where I can to Crashbase. I feel like a lot of my contribution to Crashbase is just being stable in the sense that I run events every week and everybody knows who I am and how to get in touch with me and things like that. So I think that a lot of my value is continuing to do that. I don't know that I have grand plans for the next year, although reorganizing things so that we can support more virtual events and provide more community support, particularly for what I'm expecting to be a bunch of knock-on effects. Because even as Ben and Sean and others have done, Kevin have done really great work on the direct COVID response stuff. Over the next 6 months, there's going to be a lot of second order, like, okay, a lot of people don't have jobs anymore. A lot of people maybe don't have places to live anymore. They're looking for, reskilling. They're looking for opportunities. What resources can we provide people when we don't have a physical space? Our role in this could change quite a bit if we can motivate that and do it in an organized way. So that's something that I'm looking for ideas on, particularly if we can do it in a way that doesn't duplicate work that other groups are already better suited for doing. Like a really embarrassing segment of makers spent a lot of time making like stompy bag ventilator designs that nobody ended up using because obviously they didn't end up using them. Whereas, the 3D printed ear savers for the masks was kind of a unique-ish thing that, I think was a lot more helpful to a lot more people. And then helping collate, groups for simple masks ended up giving a lot more bang for the buck than, trying to build a coped ventilator out of Legos that no hospital would be able to use and retain their insurance. So similarly, I feel like, trying to become suddenly a place to teach people how to program from first principles and give them a crash-based certification, that's not what we should do. But there is a role in there for us as a point of enthusiasm and a networking place. I know people have gotten a lot of jobs through people they've met at Crashbase. There's a lot of networking potential. There's a lot of mutual support potential. So that's what I think we're going to find our role best suited towards as this crisis continues. Because, news from Russia aside, I think that a vaccine is still a good 6 to 8 to 12 months away. So this is going to drag on for a while. Anybody have any questions?
Okay. Levi, you unmuted. Were you going to ask a question?
Oh, I thought it was going to, then no.
Okay.
Thank you for your vote, everybody. You can't vote for anyone else.
Yeah,
okay.
I just thought I would have something clever to say.
That's okay. We all know how to reach Justin because he is one of the constants at the space, which is fantastic. Okay, well, last but certainly not least in terms of day-to-day importance on the ballot is facilities chair. Currently, that is Steve Goldstein, who is here. Would you care to make a statement?
Hi, sure. So as everyone was saying earlier, Crash Space is really, you know, we've got the two parts of Crash, the facilities and the social aspects of the community. And I'm not really great at community building, but I am good at facilities. I've had multiple shops in my life, in different careers and businesses. And so I like to run the shop. I wish we had a bigger space, and maybe this is the year we can actually do that, because of, you know, the unfortunate circumstances that we might be able to take advantage of. So I'm always looking for the perfect new home for Crash Space. But we'll see. But besides that, that's a possible thing in the future. But currently, we have a space that I would like to see usable on a limited, you know, limited aspect to allow people to come in and use the unique tools and shop space that we do have available. So that's going to be one of my primary things to do over the next couple of months, is to get it really ready for people to come in and use it on a limited, safe, you know, COVID conscious use. So yeah, and the building's still standing. It's an old building that always needs little knickknacks fixed and stuff like that, and I kind of keep that up. And we and the tools, we you know, keep the tools going. So anyways, that's I like doing it. And so given more time, I'll do it better. And if I don't do it, if I'm not elected, and if Kevin is elected, he would do a fine job as well, and I'll be there to be with him and assist him. And so it's going to get done either way.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve?
I've got a question. Do we know who owns the space, and are they worried about us, our presence, anything like that?
So we had we had the water main replaced about 6 months ago or so, and it was my first opportunity to reach out and meet with the owner of the building, and he. So my surprise, and he came out and replaced our water main for $6,000. And he was a nice guy. I gave him a tour of the facility very nervously, and he looked around and he said, "Wow." The best remark was, "Wow, you can actually walk into the front room." When we had it, there was no passage at all through the front room. They used it as a warehouse, actually. And then on his way out, he said, "Just don't burn it down."
Thank you. That's informative.
So we have a really cool landlord. He inherited the building from his father. He has a lot of other properties that he takes care of, that the landlord over. So, but yeah. So to answer your question, yes, and we are in good, you know, we're in good regards with the landlord.
Probably helps that we pay our rent. So
yeah, and boy, and that's what keeps us there. That low rent. I mean, gosh, it's hard to beat that. So, but the positive side is it's building cash in the bank, so we can move into another space if one can.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I guess I'm up next. I'm running against Steve, and Steve has done a great job, except he says that he would work under me, and I doubt that highly, because Steve doesn't listen to anything I say for him to do. So it's probably better to have what?
I'll work with you.
You won't listen to anything I tell him to do. So I would say vote for Steve. I would gladly do this be facilities chair, but I know Steve does a great job. I'm glad to help him wherever I can. So let's, where's my little camera? Oh, it's Steve. But no, seriously, I love Crashbase. Love working with Ben and everything we did for the all of the COVID response. And I really hope we were able to do more virtual stuff. I've helped Todd out with as much of the virtual as we can and getting the G Suite and any sort of programming stuff. So glad to do it, but I do think Steve's probably, if he's willing to do it, he does a good job. To Steve.
And I invite Kevin as a co-chair.
But of course, as facilities chair, you're certainly empowered to establish a facilities committee, which could include Kevin and anyone else.
Everyone else.
And everyone. Yeah, everyone should be responsible to maintaining the space. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Kevin, or just for any of us in general? Like general the way the process is working, or any questions about next week's annual meeting? If not, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and thank you for everyone for giving their thoughts and being here. I'm going to stop the recording now. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you, everyone. All right.
Thank you.